you can buy small pieces of businesses for less than you can buy whole pieces of businesses.
For the premium you'd have to pay if you were buying the whole thing.
Yeah, so you get a bargain as an investor compared to what I can get in terms of buying the whole business. And people, if they just think of stocks as pieces of business, they'd be so much better off than thinking of them as little things that move around in price. And I think with Berkshire, we have an unusual number of people as shareholders who just look at Berkshire as a business. They look at it as a savings account. They put some money in 20 or 30 or 40 years ago. We retain it and reinvest for them, but we're their savings account. And that's the way I look at my own stock. That's the way Charlie looks at his stock.
A good business is the one that earns a high rate of return on tangible assets.
Very simple.
That's pretty simple, yeah. And the very best businesses are the ones that earn a high rate of return on tangible assets and grow. But even ones that don't grow, if they earn a high return on tangible assets, and then of course if you don't pay too much, they can be a good investment. They're a good business to start with by the high returns. If you pay too much for them, you can turn a good business into a bad investment. But if you pay an appropriate price, you can do all right. Now the big mistake which we made in the early years was to try and buy a bad business at a really cheap price. And it took me about 20 or 30 years to figure out that wasn't a good idea. But this is the car business, the car dealership business, if run well, can be a very good business. You have no receivables to speak of. You floor plan your inventory. You can lease your real estate, but we don't do that. We'll own 95% of our real estate. So you can have very little capital actually invested in the business. And you do a large volume. Van Tile, which we bought, has 78 dealerships. They'll average over $100 million a dealership. So you can work on fairly narrow margins and still earn a high return on capital if you don't tie much capital into $100 million business.
And how many car dealerships are there in total in the United States?
There are over 17,000 car dealerships in the United States. And the interesting thing is if you go back 40 or 50 years, there were in the 30,000. So while the country has grown dramatically, and actually the number of nameplates in the car business have grown, you've cut the dealerships almost in half. So the average dealer now does far greater volume than when I was growing up.
If you buy a business, if you buy a farm, you go up and look, every couple of weeks to see how far the corn is up, and you worry too much about whether somebody says this is going to be a year of low prices because exports are being affected or anything like that. You buy a farm and you hold it for. I've got one farm that I bought in the 1980s, and my son runs it, but I've been there once. I mean, it doesn't grow faster if I go and stare at it. I can't cheer for it. More effort, or something like that. And I know there's going to be some years when prices are going to be good, and some when the prices aren't going to be good. I know there's years when yields will be better than others. But about the farm, and it just doesn't. I don't care about economic predictions on it or anything of the sort. I do care that over the years it's well tended to in terms of rotating crops, and I hope yields get better, which they generally have. In fact, that farm 100 years ago would have probably produced 30 bushels, maybe 35 bushels of corn per acre. Now in a good year, it'd be 200. I mean, we've really made progress in this country. That's one reason commodity prices, if you go back a couple hundred years, they've moved so little, is because we've just gotten better and better at whether it's cotton or whether it's corn or soybeans or all kinds of things. And you and I have benefited from that. By far the best investment you can make is in yourself. I mean, for example, communication skills. I tell the students that come, they're going to graduate schools and business, and they're learning all these complicated formulas and all that. If they just learn to communicate better, both in writing and in person, they increase their value at least 50%. And, I mean, if you can't communicate, somebody says, it's like winking at a girl in the dark. Nothing happens, basically. And you have to be able to get forth your ideas. And that's relatively easy. I did it myself with the Dale Carnegie course. Some people wish I'd taken a shorter course now in terms of my talking later on. But it's just hugely important. And if you invest in yourself, nobody can take it away from you. I mean, the second thing, which I'll get a certain criticism for not living it, but I do tell those students, that if I gave you a car and it'd be the only car you get the rest of your life, you'd take care of it like you can't believe. Any scratch, you'd fix that moment. You'd read the owner's manual. You'd keep a garage and do all these things. And you get exactly one mind and one body in this world. And you can't start taking care of it when you're 50. By that time, you'll have rusted out if you haven't done anything. So you should really make sure that you just remember that you just got one mind and body to get through life with and to do the most with it.